Chapter 6. The Journey. The seventh son of the Yishan Pavilion, Shangwen Scar. When the news came out, it was unknown how many people were shaken over. In the Royal Casino Resort, a group of cultivators who had lost all their spirit stones and were nibbling on steamed buns were currently staring blankly at the huge palace in the distance. How much luck has this Guhai had? Guken just got the chess viewing elder's inheritance and became the 8th prince, and another 7th prince popped up over here. Is the Yishan Pavilion run by your family? One prince after another. The crowd of cultivators were depressed. Is this Guhai's rhythm of annexing the Yicheon Pavilion? The 7th prince was just a matter of fact, but that powerful Mao Chen actually knew the 7th prince. Could it be that this 7th prince existed 800 years ago? Observe the chess 9 sons has been a legend. Who does not know what they are, what form, but many people have heard this legend. Observe the chess 9 sons. No matter who can command the game Heaven Pavilion. This great Han dynasty, all out of 2 sons. This Guhai playing chess is so perverted. It can't be the reincarnation of the old man of chess watching, right? However, this is only the people think. The old man suffered the wrath of God. The form of God is destroyed. It is impossible to reincarnate. One can only sigh at the luck of the great Han dynasty. In that case, how else can one rob the Earth Dragon vein? Unlike the cultivators with bad intentions, the other officials of the great Han dynasty were excited, because Shangwen Trace's name gave them more of a sense of security in general. Because Shangwen Trace had brought Mukken's friendship with such a strong person as a friend, wouldn't that great Han become more and more stable like Mount Taishan? Guhai dealt with a lot of political affairs every day, but after another month, finally, everything is on the right track. Guhai also subsided a lot. After all, the way of the king is to use people. Will use people, then their own hard work again or better. In the upper study room, Your Majesty, I discussed with New Chen and prepared to move his sea palace to the vicinity of the 9-5 Islands, so that we can also have a watchful eye. Shangwen Trace laughed. Also good. It just so happens that Li Haren's flying boat from back then is here with me, so it can be quicker. Guhai laughed. While Guhai and Shangwen Trace were talking, Guken walked over. Father, Hall Master and Master Liu Nian are here. Oh, Guhai said unexpectedly. Walking out of the upper study, he met the duo in a guest hall. Long Wanqing was studying the playing cards in her hand with a curious expression. Hall Master, Master Liu Nian, when did you guys come? Guhai smiled as he approached. We came yesterday. We've been staying at your Royal Casino Resort for a day. I heard that you beat up Li Shenji's men. Long Wanqing, the Guhai with a surprised face. Sort of. Guhai laughed bitterly. You're really good. Li Shenji is very protective of his men. I heard that his face was swollen by you, and as a result, you're fine. Long Wanqing said oddly. Ancient helmsman, this Royal Casino, it's really novel and incomparable. It's comparable to a large spirit stone mine, Master Liu Nian said, with eyes full of admiration. Master Quicksilver is polite. It's just a small sculpture, Guhai laughed. Slowly taking his seat, Guken accompanied him, and the attendant quickly served fragrant tea. Hall Master, Grandmaster, looking at your expressions, this trip to the Divine Continent, you should have gained something. Guhai smiled. The two of them looked solemn. Long Wanqing nodded and said, Not bad, following your method. We did find out a little something. The material of that paper originated from a kind of green palm at the border of Yingju. Likewise, that ink is also from an ink from the border of Yingju. Yingju. Guhai revealed a hint of doubt. Yingju, one of the 16 states of my great Jin dynasty, is the fiefdom of King Liu Yong. My great Jin borders, Yingju borders some imperial dynasties, and the clues point in that direction. But the fish and dragons are mixed there, and there are many strong people. So we have nowhere to start for a while. Long Wanqing laughed bitterly. Yingju, King Lu Yang, I seem to remember hearing you talk about how King Lu Yong talks a good zither, destroying an army of millions of cultivators with a single movement of the strings of his zither. Gu Hai said doubtfully. Well, zither, chess, calligraphy and painting. You're good at the Tao of chess. He's better at the Tao of zither. Oh yeah. Remember the 100 longevity peach tree in the innate stump realm? Long Wanqing's expression twitched. Naturally I remember. I picked the peaches, but the peach tree is still there. The elders of the game Heaven Pavilion watched the peach tree especially closely. The innate remnant realm should have been closed a long time ago, right? Gu Hai nodded with a flickering expression. It was closed, however. That 100 longevity peach tree was snatched over by King Lu Yong leading his army. Long Wanqing nodded and said, Oh, Gu Hai was slightly stunned. At that time, the Yichun Pavilion elders still wanted to resist, but I heard that once King Lu Yong made his move, he immediately defeated a group of elders, and in front of a group of Yichun Pavilion disciples, he forcibly uprooted the 100 longevity peach tree, and led an army that left in great numbers. Long Wanqing recalled. That's really overbearing. Gu Hai laughed bitterly. That's for sure, King Lu Yong, but he fought the world together with my grandpa, and it seems like he's still grandpa's sworn brother. That's why he was made a king with a different surname. After all, in my great Jin dynasty, there are only those few royal titles in total. Grandpa even designated the vast Jingju as the fiefdom of King Lu Yang, Long Wanqing explained. Great Jin sage's sworn brother. Gu Hai raised his eyebrows. No wonder it was so overbearing. The Unsheng people have already gone ahead to the border of Yingju to investigate. A master and I came to find you because my grandfather issued an imperial decree, ordering the One Piece Hall to go all out to track down the cause of my mother's death. And you have to go too. Long Wanqing smiled bitterly. Me? Gu Hai raised his eyebrows slightly. Yes, and I heard that the border of Yingju is not peaceful lately. There is an imperial dynasty that tore up the alliance with my great Jin heavenly dynasty, and is now allied with an imperial dynasty. I heard that King Lu Yong heard the news and became furious. He has already made great efforts to prepare to eradicate that imperial dynasty. There will be chaos there. Gu Hai, are you going or not? Are you going? If you don't go, I'll explain slowly with Grandpa. Long Wanqing looked at Gu Hai expectantly. Gu Hai was slightly silent for a while. Father, my great Han dynasty has just been established. There are still a lot of things that you need to preside over. I'm afraid that you won't be able to split up nowadays, right? Gu Qin was slightly worried. Gu Hai was silent for a while. Eventually, he took a deep breath and said, Thousand Islands Sea. A land of barbarians. I do want to take a look at this divine continent land, just how magnificent it is. Father, Gu Qin said with some anxiety, there is no harm. The great Han dynasty is already on the right track. Everything else is just some minor matters. It is enough to have you overseeing the country. Gu Hai shook his head and said. But Gu Qin was worried. All right, although the great Han dynasty has started, but after all, it's a closed door. I want to know how the various countries in the divine continent Earth, how they are developing. And it's also considered to be an accumulation of heritage for me. Great Han, I'm relieved to have you overseeing the country. Gu Hai shook his head and said. All right, Gu Qin nodded. Oh yeah, this time I begged Grandpa to help you with this gong method, which was originally only cultivated by Dakian's royal children. One of the strongest techniques in the Jindan realm. Long Wanqing immediately handed over a silken cloth. Oh, Gu Hai received it suspiciously. True Dragon Golden Dan technique. Gu Hai was slightly stunned. True Dragon Innate Merit. True Dragon Golden Dan Merit is the best foundation building technique that Grandpa drilled out further up. There is no more. You need to look for your own technique according to your needs, Long Wanqing explained. Many thanks, Hall Master. Gu Hai accepted it without any politeness. A Jindan realm's merit law. Gu Hai had naturally searched for a lot of them, exterminating a few big clans. It was just that those merit laws Gu Hai couldn't even look at them. 3 days later. I'll leave with Hallmaster. I'll arrange matters within the dynasty in the next 2 days. Gu Hai smiled. Good. Long Wanqing nodded. The crown prince was supervising the country. The emperor was traveling. It immediately led to an uproar from the group of ministers. Once the emperor left, not to mention the affairs of the court, this sense of security was greatly reduced in general. However, Gu Hai has already made a decision. Naturally will not change because of the courtier's sense of security. Sense of security. There is no sense of security. What kind of minister is it? Just think of it as an exercise. 3 days later. Gu Hai took out Li Haren's bracelet and handed it to Gu Qin. Here is Li Haren's flying boat. Leave it to you for urgent use. I have already told the Hallmaster. We'll stay in the Silver Moon City in Yingzhou with the disciples of the First Grade Hall. I will bring a group of officials to Silver Moon City. First live down. Adapt to the situation of the divine continent Earth. We'll set up the Great Han Trading House in Silver Moon City. If there is something so significant that you also can't solve it, you can pass the flying boat through the flying boat. Can't solve things. You can pass the news over through the flying boat, Gu Hai solemnly said. Yes, father. Gu Qin nodded and responded. Gu Hai brought Shangwan Trace, Mao Chen, and dozens of Great Han officials and stepped onto Long Wanqing's white cloud flying boat. Greetings to my emperor. May my emperor return soon. Long live my emperor. The group of officials stood in the plaza of the Punching Heaven Palace to send off the emperor. The white cloud flying boat, however, quickly flew up into the sky and shot off into the distance. Hallmaster, before we go to the divine continent Earth, we have to make a trip to the North Sea. I hope Hallmaster doesn't mind, Gu Hai said with a smile. It's fine. It won't take much time, Long Wanqing nodded. Master Liu Nian, however, unexpectedly looked towards Mu Chen. Elder Mu, long time no see. Master Liu Nian looked at Mu Chen, along with Shangwan Trace, and Gu Hai in awe. Although he had heard many legends these days, he was still shocked to see Mu Chen. This Gu Hai is really good at tossing and turning. How long has it been since he left the 9-5 Islands? This Mu Chen is already subservient to Gu Hai. This was a strong person from the Heaven Opening Palace. Liu Nian. Mu Chen merely smiled politely without saying much. Master Liu Nian didn't ask much either, but his heart was just filled with curiosity. The flying boat flew very quickly, and after more than half a month, it arrived at the sea where Mu Chen used to live. However, there was lightning and thunder there, and the storm was raising monstrous waves. Ong, ong. In the distance, there was a steep sound of a dragon's roar, which raged and roared hideously. Roar? No, fight them. Elder, when did you come back? The manic storm was raging, but the interior was experiencing a tragic war in general. Boom. A 30-foot Zhuan Wu hastily shot out from the center of the storm. Don't eat me. Don't eat me. Oh, that Zhuan Wu was in the midst of fleeing in terror. Boom. Steeply, from the back amidst the great water, a huge black dragon head suddenly rushed out, not a scaly dragon, as it had a pair of hideous dragon horns on its head. A bite was placed on that Zhuan Wu's body. No, don't eat me. That Zhuan Wu cried out in terror. Asshole. The face of Mao Chen, who had just returned, changed as he stepped and flew out, striking a palm towards that black dragon. So many dragons. This is here to round up the Zhuan Wu clan. Master Liu Nian's face changed and said,